very good evening and a warm welcome to today's bootcamp on Build Your Own Virtual Agent Using Natural Language Processing. I am Shmita Ramkumar and I'm the Director for Community and Partnerships at 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a SaaS technology company supporting over 1 million developers worldwide build their ideas faster by reusing open source software. Our vision at 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 is to reinvent digital realization. In other words, simply put, improve the way tech applications are built. By investing in a unique combination of public domain knowledge and artificial intelligence, 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 is delivering smarter ways to build the digital world of tomorrow. Today's bootcamp is an integral part of our 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 community initiatives. So the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 community is a body of like-minded tech enthusiasts and open source enthusiasts who have come together with the vision of contributing to the world of open source and sharing how complex use cases can be delivered by reusing open source. Over the last few weeks, we have run several boot camps on open source development on a variety of different topics, such as building your own AR-powered e-commerce website, fake news detection, basics of Python programming, building an AI model for breast cancer prediction, and many more to come. So at today's bootcamp on Build Your Own Virtual Agent, we will be covering the basics of NLP while also focusing on this specific use case of building a live chatbot. And through today's bootcamp, you will realize that technology does not have to be developed in silos and does not have to be complex. In fact, you can take a solution that is pre-built and pre-built by many people in the world and further build on top of it and share it back with the world such that people can further build on top of your ideas, and that accelerates the process of innovation and also helps you scale your ideas and solutions much significantly faster. In today's session, you will also hear from developer enthusiast who has curated questions on behalf of the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 open source community. And with that brief introduction, I would like to get on with our agenda for today and welcome our mentor for today's session, Pooja Agarwal, who is a senior developer advocate at 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Hi, Pooja, and welcome. Thank you for putting together today's session for us again.
Hi,
I
Smita.
know you're going to try and deliver this in 30 minutes and show us a live working model at the end. So I'm excited for that, and over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session on building your own virtual agent. So, today we will talk about artificial intelligence and natural language processing. We will discuss how, with the use of natural language processing, you can build your own virtual agent and how open source helps in building this virtual agent, and what are the key considerations that you should keep in mind when you are looking forward to build a chatbot for any particular application that you are looking forward to. So we have our kit that we have curated for you, and we will go into the live session briefly after discussing the core concepts. So let me quickly take you into the installation part so that as we discuss the code, you are also able to take it along onto your systems and work alongside with me. So for that, you have to go into today's video's description, and you can see there is this one click kandi solution kit that is available. Click on it. You will find the kit page which has the details about the kit, as well as there is this one click installer button which you can use to download the kit. Also, instructions are listed for manual installation in case you are looking to get into the source code, etc. yourself. The kit solution source is available here, and further we have the two development environment also listed that you can build this both on notebook, Jupyter notebook, as well as VS Code. Uh, the necessary libraries for the exploratory data analysis like pandas and numpy have also been provided into this kit page so that you know what libraries have been used for text mining, or I would say to process the text so that it can be provided to the machine. We have used pi linguistics for today's session. Other libraries are also listed for your reference in case you are building some other interesting application. And then libraries like scikit-learn, 𝗟𝗟, and sentence transformer, 𝗵𝗏 are also listed. For today, we will be using the sentence transformer. And then these are Flask, Fast API, etc., that you can use to build your own, solution source website through these libraries by inculcating it into your code. So let's get started by installing this kit. Click on this one-click installer button. Save it to your convenient place onto your systems. Since it's a zip file, unzip it. You will find a batch file. So you can scan this batch file before starting to install it so that you are assured that your system is safe from any risk, etc. Since it has all the required prerequisite resources and dependencies that will automatically get installed into your system. So that's why Windows is asking whether you are sure you would like to go and run this file, right? So you can scan it and then go ahead and run it once you are sure. So this kandi kit has already started installing the required dependencies. So by doing this, we somehow want you to get over with this installation part and just minimize the screen once you are done installing this, and we can get back to our discussion for today's session. So let's talk about artificial intelligence and how it all started. So basically, it all started at this conference which was organized by the father of artificial intelligence, John McCarthy, at the Dartmouth Summer Research Project, where the first program in artificial intelligence with the name Logic Tourist was also introduced. And this program basically, solved couple of mathematical algorithms pretty swiftly, and also introduced different solutions for those algorithms. If you would go and check, it was nearly around 1955, in the year 1955, when two other researchers from the same group introduced this logic tourist to John McCarthy and their friends, right? After introduction of this program, later in 1960 to 1970, there was not much change that happened in artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence saw its first winter back then, right? Then boom came in artificial intelligence only in the early 1980s, when the different learning techniques were introduced. So scientists basically introduced couple of learning techniques which enhanced the way in machines learn and behave or mimic human behavior. After introduction of these techniques, they basically again had to see a, you know winter season for artificial intelligence. The reason behind it being that the kind of hardware that we had back then was not as good, or the configuration of the systems that we have at our own disposal was not as great back then as we had now. So this basically enhanced only in the 90s to 2000s of the time, when a great success in this field was seen with the help of the different hardware as well as the technology backing that artificial intelligence required, not only at the software end but also at the hardware end. And from 2010 to present, we see that there are so many artificial intelligence solutions which we are using in everyday life now and then. So let's try and understand the two ways in which your artificial intelligence can be summarized, or I would say can be talked about. One is a rule engine. So when there is a certain logic, and based on that certain logic a certain task is automated to be performed, we call that category of your artificial intelligence as a rule engine based technique, or I would say a technique that follows a certain rule and then the automated task is performed. In the second field, or I would say in the second type, where we have the machine learning and deep learning as our key learning techniques, the enhancement has not stopped. Every now and then we are seeing different libraries, different frameworks that have been introduced. So deep learning is a narrower aspect of machine learning, and today we are more focused to understand how deep learning has enabled us to build this chatbot. However, if we talk about the techniques like supervised or unsupervised, I would like to give you a brief, segregation of these two techniques. Where supervised learning mechanism is, you have your target output already present along with the input data that you provide to your machine. So your data set is already labeled. So this makes it easier for your machine to derive the expected results. It already knows what the result is expected. When we talk about this unsupervised mechanism, the trouble here is that your machine is provided with the data. It does not know what is the actual expected output, right? So your machine will keep, will try to cluster the similar data points, or will try to, whatever data you have provided to the machine, all those points which lie in the similar category, it will try to cluster them, or I would say it will try to place them in the similar classes. And the most popular technique in unsupervised mode of learning is your clustering technique, right? And there are many more, but clustering is used in various applications of artificial intelligence and deep learning, and does help with today's data, which is pretty much, I would say, unlabeled. A lot of scientists and data science people are required to even do a annotation or labeling of the data set that we provide in the supervised form of learning. So, what are the different fields of artificial intelligence if we try to categorize it? So, one is your natural language processing, which we will work out, which we will work on today, and under that we will talk about these conversational agents. Your second category of field is your computer vision. So, in computer vision, we try to imbibe or embed the machine with a similar vision that we as humans have, where we are intelligent enough to prevent, you know, prevent any accidents, or I would say prevent any mishap by the field, I mean by this characteristics of, or by the having this capability to be able to see what is in front of us. So examples such as your autonomous cars, your security detection or anomaly detection are categorized, or are the use cases which belong to computer vision. The third field we talk about is speech recognition and generation. So tools like Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, Cortana, which you are already using, right, every now and then, which these are already part of our life. You are already using them and pretty much aware of how comfortable they have made our lives since before. So these belongs to the speech recognition and generation category. How your virtual agent is helpful. So the good part is it will show the same cognition, or I would say it will have the same cognitive behavior which we as humans have. It can behave intelligently, respond in a smart manner to your different user base, so that you don't need a uh, lot of people to take care of the customer support, right? It is 24/7 available, and it has an instant turnaround, right? Instant response is provided once you navigate to a particular website which has a chatbot or a virtual agent already attached to it, and then the chance of error is highly minimized, and it's an inexpensive deal. Once you work out a software agent like this, it will enable you or provide you service forever. So these are the good characteristics that help you get closer to an application based on natural language processing, where you're able to build this chatbot or a virtual agent. So how do we work around this problem? So initially, we will need some input data that we would need to provide to our machine, so that we can train the machine based on that data. The machine can learn from that data. Further, we will build a logical model based on the data that has been provided to the machine. This logical model we then test against a new data. We see how well the model has been built, and we try to check based on the output what performance it is showing. So as we discussed, first of all, we will require a knowledge base for our virtual agent. So what all can act as a knowledge base for your virtual agent? You can have your frequently asked questions, right? Most of the questions are repetitive questions that people ask, right? So you can have your FAQ articles as a data set for your virtual agent. You can have maybe multiple different documents from which you would like to train your data. So since we will be using a pre-trained model, it has been trained with millions of documents, even most of the Wikipedia as well, right? And then conversation is another third category that you can use to, voice is another category that you can use to train your virtual agent. So let's understand the training aspect. How do you train or how do you work around a virtual agent? So initially, we will provide a data source. This data source that you provide to your virtual agent would be first analyzed using your NumPy and Pandas, your most essential libraries for exploratory data analysis. Then you, based on the features that you will extract on the after the analysis, you would do the pre-processing on those features. You basically are applying your NLP pipeline here, or a pre-processing pipeline that helps you remove all the unnecessary data or unnecessary text that is present. After that, you pass it through a sentence transformer. So this transformer is responsible for converting your input text into embeddings form or vector form. So this embeddings or vector form is your machine understandable form, which is very essential. We talk in terms of English, Hindi, Polish, German, different sorts of communication language we use at different geography. However, for the machine, it won't be able to understand this natural language. A conversion into vector form is necessary. So we use the sentence transformer here and evaluate the different embeddings and store them in a embeddings storage. So with this, we finish our training of the virtual agent. After that, we need to now test the model. The model is ready. We need to test how well the model is performing. So what we do, we fetch a user query, we pass a user query. Again, the pre-processing or cleaning happens on this user query. What sort of a cleaning? Any punctuations, any stop words, mathematical digits, whatever is unnecessary for the machine, all that is removed, cleaned off. Then this text is passed into the sentence transformer again, the same model. It converts it into the vector form or the embeddings form. Now these embedding, I mean the embedding of the user is compared against with the stored embeddings that we use to train the model for. And after fetching your stored embeddings from this, stored storage, we use a similarity engine which compares your user query and the stored embedding, and whichever embedding has the least distance, or whichever embedding has the is the closest to your user query's embedding, accordingly a lookup happens and the answer is accordingly fetched for that particular user query. So with this, we are able to say that okay, our model is providing us the required result. So we finish with the training and testing part of our model. But what software should we use? Should we go for a closed source software or should we go for an open source software? So I would completely urge for an open source software. Reason being, it is freely and easily accessible, and anyone around the world can use this open source software. You can modify it as per your requirement and easily redistribute it to others for use as well, right? So what are the what has it resulted in? There has been a great innovation and diversity in artificial intelligence and blockchain and so many other fields. You see that the metaverse, which is again built up on your JavaScript and TypeScript, has come up because of this open source tools and libraries which are freely available for you to reuse. It helps you save your time. You don't have to start from scratch. You just have to focus on the application that you're trying to develop, right? You just have to figure out the initial code. You can use it and deploy your own application from from you know from the base application that is already available as an open source repo. Then there is an interesting thing that you have support for from everyone around the world. There's a great community support with these open source tools, right? If you see TensorFlow, PyTorch, these platforms or I would say these frameworks have also become so popular, and there are changes every now and then because the entire developer community around the world contributes to it. And then there is this interesting aspect where 90%, this is an interesting fact, that 90% of the world code in itself contains open source libraries, tools, and repos. So even your most of the closed source may use open source libraries for in it, code, code snippets in it. So what do I have to take care as a developer of? As a developer, I need to take care of the library's support, whether a certain library that I am using has a decent support for of different community developers, whether there are no bugs in that particular library, so that whatever application I develop is highly secure, and then the quality of that particular library or repo that you are trying to pick up from the open source community, so that you are easily able to deploy an application for commercial use without any hindrance. Then the fourth part, which is your license agreement, this is also something that we sometimes overlook. However, it is very essential that we look for a particular library or a tool or a code snippet to be, easily modifiable. The license agreement, based on whether it is uh, permissive license where you can modify and redistribute as per the same license, if it is a weak copy left or a strong copy left where you may have to redistribute your code with the same license agreement and contribute to the community, right? You need to check, and then you can simply work out through these libraries and repos. So with kandi, we provide all these four key considerations with each and every library on the kandi uh, page. So you can go and check for these. Also, let's get started into building our virtual agent now. I hope you all have already finished working out the solution, I mean, installation, where you have reached your 100%. And after you have reached there, you will be simply able to reach this Jupyter notebook if you have successfully set up the installation. So this Jupyter notebook will open for you. And let's try and understand what's happening here. First of all, we are providing that data set in the CSV format and saving it into a variable called data source path. Then we are using pickle to store your model. Then we have imported the essential libraries for data analysis, NumPy and Pandas. For text mining, we are using the linguistics library, using for removing the punctuation, stop words, etc. Then we are also using text hero to remove any digits if present. We are using the sentence transformer for converting our processed text into machine understandable form. Then we have called the torch PyTorch to import the cosine similarity, so that we are able to map your user query embedding with the stored embeddings and see to which it is closest. And then the pickle for storing our model. So first of all, we just convert this data set, or we just store it into a data frame format. So you can see that this is a data set. This is a FAQ data set that we are working with. There are a couple of questions here, and accordingly there are answers listed down for those questions. You can create your own data set depending on what application you are trying to build your chatbot for. And then what I'll do is, within this data set, I see that I have question marks and maybe something which is of not relevance. Then what I'll do, I'll just process this q column from here and remove the digits as well as punctuations and store it into another column called processed queue, right? So this processed queue no longer has any irrelevant text. After that, we will implement our, or we will load our sentence transformer model. So it's based on the BERT model itself, and we will be using the paraphrase mini LM L6 V2. So there are multiple models. We've chosen this, which is your default model, and storing it into the model variable. After that, we will encode your processed queue column with this sentence transformer model, encode it into the vector form and store it into q_embeds. Then we will store it into a file using your pickle.dump. After saving, we will load the embeddings again. So up till here, your training is completed. Now you need to work around with the testing and see how well your model is performing. So we load our stored embeddings again with pickle.load. Then we have a method called pred_answer. So this pred_answer is basically the same steps which are followed in the training part. So what it is doing, we are passing this user query saying, tell me about kandi, and it basically is converted into a data frame format first, and then we are then processing it by removing the digits and punctuations and storing it in another column called clean user query. After that, we again compute the embeddings for this clean user query column and store it into user queue embed. We load our cosine similarity here, and then with our numpy's argument function of argmax, we are implementing the cosine similarity on the embedding which we had calculated for this user query with the stored embeddings, right? q_embeds had all the embeddings for the trained data, that the trained data sets embeddings are stored here. So we compare from here, we try to fetch the index of the closest match, right? Whichever is the closest match, we try to fetch it, and then accordingly the answer of the matched query from the data frame of the input data is provided. So we see that the response or the output for tell me about kandi is a platform that helps developer pick the right library, package code, samples, etc. So to be able to do your own, if you want to test how this chatbot is working, let us try and see by running or just going through couple of questions and seeing whether our bot answers. So you see that most of the questions are, what does kandi, have feedback or want to know more, what components, right? So how do I use kandi, and couple of questions are here. So we'll just ask, help me understand, how can I utilize kandi? Some question marks, maybe some digits, and then we see that we get a response where it is giving me, it provides two simplified experiences. It is giving me one option to search, another option to explore, which are the two features of the kandi tool. We can also ask something like, what different components can I work with in kandi? So it's giving me this. Okay, this is the response. kandi helps you select software components across packages from all package managers and repositories, source code, and cloud functions. So pretty much it is able to perform our, sentence segmentation, where it is trying to basically compare these and get you an answer based on the trained data set that was provided here. So you can also customize this data set. You don't have to, you just simply go into the source code. So your source code is available. Let me share. So within this FAQ virtual agent, you will see that you have your FAQs file, which is your dataset file. Right? These are the questions. You can edit this yourself and just enter the questions that you would like to, get your chatbot answered with. Or like I have created another data set for our demo so that you can understand how you can customize it. So this is a simple Q&A on deep learning and ML. So let us just see how we can work around this. You just have to get into this Jupyter notebook And here, where we were mentioning our data set, you simply say the name of the file. So it's 𝗟FAQs. So we'll just quickly check. That's the name, 𝗟FAQs.csv. And now we can restart and quickly run all. Okay. Yeah, so we see now we have a different data set, and for this different data set, let us try to ask it something. Tell me what is linear regression. Okay, so that is how whatever the answer was provided, it is trying to answer accordingly, right? So this is how you can customize this this use case for your own FAQ file, and maybe also customize it depending on any other sort of use case that you will try to build on NLP. So I think with this I'll wrap up my session and look forward to your questions. So please post your questions in the comments.
Great. Thank you, Pooja, for that power-packed 30-minute session. Just to wrap up, for all of our participants, I believe we've covered 3 key things in today's session: the fundamentals of NLP, a hands-on session on how to build a NLP-based chatbot. You got to see a live working model at the end of it, and also understand how we can use kandi and tap into millions of open source sets to build your AI application. So do take a look at some of our one-click kits that have been developed by young and senior developers such as you on topics that are very relevant in today's world. You can also use open source software to just even look at some simpler concepts and not just such complex use cases. So talking about young developers, we have with us an open source enthusiast, and in particular an NLP enthusiast with us today. And I'd like to welcome 𝗟ક્ષરા from VIT Chennai. Hi, 𝗟ક્ષરા. Thank you for joining us and for representing our larger community. Would you like
Good
to
evening.
introduce yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. So this is 𝗟ક્ષરા from VIT Chennai. I'm pursuing my final year BTech in the branch of Computer Science Engineering with Cyber Physical Systems as a specialization. I have been associated with OpenViva as a student ambassador, and I'm here to represent the whole community here. So that's about me.
Great. Thank you, 𝗟ક્ષરા. I know you were part of one of our virtual assistant sessions even in the past. And I think since then you've been telling us that NLP is something that's quite close to your heart. You're interested in it. So, and I also understand we've curated some questions from our larger community. So would you like to go first if you have a question from the community?
So I'm passionate about NLP and its working. So while browsing through various libraries, I have come across one of them named SentenceWorks. So I want Pooja to explain about it and why exactly it's needed in making a chatbot.
Yeah, absolutely. So 𝗟SBERT is a modification of the pre-trained BERT network. So basically there are a couple of models, and 𝗟SBERT is a modification of this BERT model that we already have, and it uses your CSMIS and basically twin and triplet structures of network to derive semantically meaningful sentence embeddings. So we are saying that we want to convert our text into machine understandable form. So what 𝗟SBERT does, it reduces your effort for finding the most similar pair of sentences, right? So you had models before, and these models used to take close to 65 hours, and with this 𝗟SBERT, now we are able to get close to 5 seconds, and yeah, while maintaining the same accuracy that we were getting with the standard BERT model. So I think that's the reason that we have chosen 𝗟SBERT for our chatbot building.
Well, thank you so much, Pooja, for answering the query.
So Pooja, we have another question from one of our members, and they'd like to know what is semantic textuality similarity.
Okay, so yeah, So this question basically relates to again the same aspect that we are trying to do here in chatbot. So STS, I would say it basically attempts to compare two text and decide whether they are similar in meaning. Right? I was trying to type in some text which was different from what was there. Right? So semantically, the machine has to compare whether they are same or not. So it's a notoriously hard problem, because you know how natural language is, right? We have different nuances and we talk, say, yeah, we talk in a way which is for machine it's difficult to understand. So semantic textual similarity helps your machine, where it can despite of this single word which is saying, say a word is tired and another word is sleepy, is they are different, right? But somewhere we want the machine to be able to figure out and understand that they have the semantic similarity amongst them. So that is STS.
Lovely. So before we go to the next question, just a very quick reminder to all of our participants: if you do have questions and would like to ask Pooja or Akshara or any of us, please do send them in your comments, and we will be taking those questions as well towards the end of the session.
So, as you've explained in detail about the similarity, could you throw some light on other methods that can be used to calculate the similarity between the user query and the store entries?
Sure. So we have other methods where you can calculate similarity. One we have used, which is cosine similarity. Then you have Euclidean distance. So cosine similarity basically creates an angle between the two vectors. So the smallest angle means the two sentences are most close to each other. But dot product has its way, then Euclidean distance has its way of calculating the smallest distance. Similarly, you have other metrics for calculating distance like Manhattan, etc. So yeah, you can use any of these methods depending on the model and your requirement for the result.
Lovely.
Well, thank you.
So Pooja,
Yeah,
one
thank
of our
you.
members would also like to know what the different types of chatbots are. Sorry, Akshara, I spoke over you.
Yeah. So basically, if you ask me about types, it could be based on business requirements. If you ask me from artificial intelligence perspective, we'll go for, say, first category, which is your rule-based chatbots, like we discussed in the first slide, where a certain rule or a logic is fulfilled, and then your bot gives you a response. So there you don't have this intelligence. Based on the question, the answers would be provided. But just in case there are questions which the bot doesn't have or hasn't been trained for, it won't be able to answer those. And in the second category, we'll talk about the artificial intelligence based chatbot that we have built using your machine learning and NLP, where they are able to respond to most of the queries, and they respond in a way which is more conversational, more engaging, and yeah, which makes the other person feel that a human is responding to their queries. So that's this other category. And then there are hybrid bots, and then there are bots based on business requirements where people build application specific bots.
So, Pooja, I have something to showcase on this as well. So, will it be
Okay,
fine if I show my kit to discuss the same?
why not? Absolutely, I think that will be a great thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, one second. So this is my kit on virtual agents. So virtual agents are those computer programs that are a mix of programmed rules and conversational intelligence. It helps in providing the basic help that is needed, and the medium of conversation can be via chat, voice, any other interactive voice responses. So virtual agents are also known as the digital assistant. So they can communicate through any other mediums. And virtual assistant is a remote customer service that uses technology to provide the service without the company's agent directly interacting. So next we have some benefits of virtual agents. So what exactly are virtual agents? Virtual agents are actually consistent, and they improve the efficiency of the working. and it responds quickly and provides self-service. It improves the customer support by providing 24/7 support and satisfaction. As it is consistent, the responses are also consistent and satisfying to the customers. So the working of virtual agent, as mentioned by Pooja, so it has a keyword that takes, and the keywords are given some responses, and the responses are trained into the system. And once the user inquires based on the keyword, it filters out the response and gives it. So the tutorial on the implementation of the virtual agent can be seen here. And some of the types of virtual agent are the voice bots. So voice bots use voice as the medium of interaction, and it's under the NLP as discussed by Pooja. So some of the libraries that come under this are 𝗶𝗶𝗵, Telegram 𝗶𝗶 bot, and video player bot, 𝗶𝗶's music bot, and Rasa Core. Next, moving on to the chatbot. So chatbot is a computer or software application which is used to conduct a online chat conversation, which is through a text medium, and it is consistent because the responses are often trained into the system properly, and it is of 24/7 customer support. And some of the chatbots are Chatterbot, 𝗍𝗶𝗵𝗺, 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲, kandi, and Brutal. And the other one is the interactive bots. These are often used in social media platforms where instead of a plain text that's given, there are interactive responses that are in structured forms. So some of them are Rasa, Instapan, Pod Builder Python, which is developed by Microsoft, Twitter bots especially for Twitter, and Streamcut for Discord. So I hope this answers your query, Smita.
Lovely. That's really nice, and happy you could chip in as well and showcase something that you've created on the different types of chatbots.
In
Thanks,
fact,
Akshara.
I'd like to, yeah, that was interesting. And I think the way you had put it, where you had also mentioned about one of the droid chatbots, right? One of the participants was interested in learning whether this setup could be done. So for this setup, the current that we are discussing on Jupyter Notebook, it would be viable to use a laptop where you have a Windows or Linux system. However, our developer enthusiast has introduced some interesting libraries which you could explore and work around onto with your mobile phones for now, and maybe develop a use case and send in to us where we can use it as a community showcase, right? I think
Absolutely.
yeah.
Lovely. So we have one last question as well, which, so I think one of our members would like to know what applications in real life can NLP be used for?
I think everywhere it's already implemented, and from your Amazon Alexa, where you're talking to the Alexa to do certain tasks for you, to your Netflix, where Netflix is giving you recommendations that what should be the next genre, or this is the movie that you should watch based on the type of genre you like, to your Google search, where you have the text already appearing before you type it. So all these are the interesting use cases, from your mail, Gmails and Outlook, where before you even start writing, it predicts that you want to write maybe this as the salutation, or maybe the text.
Mm-hmm.
So all the use cases where that you're seeing right now these days, which are natural language based, like this language that we speak, are all based on NLP. And yeah,
Lovely.
can figure them out.
Yep, absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Akshara, for joining us today and for representing the community. I thoroughly enjoyed the kit you had to present, and I hope you had a good time too. Look forward to you joining us again for one more session, yet another session with some other new kit that you'd like to showcase to us.
Thank you, Pooja and Smita, for having me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pooja, for that session and for really bringing together the fundamentals as well as this use case. It was very interesting. So thank you, and we look forward to the next session from you again next week.
Thank you. Good day, Smita.
Thanks. And to all our participants and viewers today, I hope you found today's session valuable and the use case presented valuable as well. Please do note that we will be conducting these boot camps frequently and regularly. So if you'd like to stay updated on our program calendar, do join our community on Discord. You can look for us by searching for 𝗃𝗃𝗃 on Discord. And once you join the community, you will get to know more about our activities, our program calendar, but it's also a nice space for you to learn and share with each other, and also let us know what topics you may be interested in so we can cater our boot camps to your interests. So do join our Discord community. And for today's session, all of you who have participated are eligible to receive certificates. In the description of this YouTube session, you will find a link which will be activated right after the session concludes. So please fill out that questionnaire. There's a very short quiz that you need to take to be able to receive your certificates. So do send us your answers and you should receive your certificates in the next day or two. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you participating and being part of our sessions over the next couple of weeks as well. And to stay updated on trends and more information in the world of open source, follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn. Thank you again. Have a good evening, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.